In a time long before recorded history, the universe was governed by a single rule: don't wake the humans. This mysterious species, located on a pale blue orbiting an average star, was never meant to awaken to the grander truths of the cosmos. For reasons unknown to most cosmic beings, the humans were kept in a state of peaceful ignorance. But something changed. The veil was lifted. The humans woke up. Chapter 1. The Sleeper's Dream. Dr. Emily Hall sat alone in her lab, the soft hum of the machines around her creating a serene backdrop to her frantic thoughts. For the past year, she had been deciphering an ancient manuscript she discovered in a long-forgotten database buried deep in the archives of the world's largest research institute. It was a document that made no sense at first, phrases and languages long dead, references to phenomena that should have been impossible. But as she analyzed the patterns and correlations, something clicked. Tonight was the night. Her fingertips hovered over the holographic keyboard, the blue glow of her monitor illuminating her face. The message was clear now, a hidden code embedded in the text. The sleep of the human mind is a law of the universe, and to wake it is to undo reality itself. She felt a chill crawl up her spine as the weight of the words pressed on her chest. What had she uncovered? A truth too dangerous for any mortal to understand? A knock on the door jolted her out of her thoughts. She quickly minimized the window. It was Jon, a colleague of hers in astrophysics. "Emily, you need to see this," Jon said, his face pale, eyes wide with fear. "The stars, they're shifting. There's something happening out there. Our equipment is picking up anomalies. Strange bursts of energy. They don't make any sense. I think the universe is reacting to something." Emily's heart skipped a beat. Was it possible that her discoveries weren't just academic? Was the universe truly aware of the human mind stirring to life? "Show me," she said, following Jon to the observatory. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the data stream in from telescopes and satellites. On the screen, irregular pulses of light flashed across the cosmos. Something new, something alive. "It's them," Jon whispered. "They're watching us. The ones who've been hiding in the dark." Emily stared at the screen. The pattern was unmistakable. The universe had always been watching, but now the humans were aware of it. Chapter 2. The Forgotten Prophecy. Days passed, and the pressure weighed on Emily's shoulders. The message in the manuscript gnawed at her, its implications too vast to ignore. She needed answers that no one else was ready to hear. She began researching the origins of the manuscript, its cryptic symbols, and the mention of a forgotten prophecy that spoke of humanity's awakening. Meanwhile, the anomalies Jon had discovered grew more frequent. The sky above Earth became an unpredictable canvas, the stars flickering in patterns that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Emily couldn't escape the feeling that something, or someone, was watching her. She had contacted an old mentor, Dr. Daniel Wilder, a retired astrophysicist and cryptographer who specialized in ancient cosmic theories. She was hoping he could provide more context on the manuscript's true meaning. When Dr. Wilder entered the small, cluttered office that Emily had been working in, his face showed a mixture of concern and fascination. "Emily," he said gravely, "you've broken the first rule of the universe, and I'm afraid the consequences are about to become painfully clear." Emily felt her pulse quicken. "What do you mean? What is this rule you're talking about?" "The forgotten prophecy," he continued, pacing nervously. "It's been passed down through generations of secret societies, hidden in plain sight. The prophecy warns of an awakening, humanity waking up to the vastness of the cosmos, to the hidden forces that govern reality. The prophecy states that the moment humans truly awaken, the fabric of existence itself begins to unravel. It's a law of the universe. If you push beyond the veil, there's no going back." Emily felt a knot form in her stomach. But we have to understand. We have to know what's out there." Dr. Wilder sighed. "The cost of knowledge is too high. You've already triggered the first wave of cosmic attention. You've woken them, Emily." Who's out there? The old man's voice dropped to a whisper. The Dunari. Chapter 3. Shadows Beneath the Surface. As Emily dug deeper into the prophecy, the situation grew more urgent. The anomalies in the sky were intensifying, not only in the stars but in the fabric of time itself. It was as if the very dimensions of the universe were warping, pulling in on themselves like a collapsing star. Something was breaking apart, and it all seemed to center on Earth. Emily couldn't ignore the strange series of messages that had started appearing in her inbox. Encrypted warnings, coded transmissions, and anonymous calls advising her to stop her research immediately. Her instinct told her that whoever was trying to stop her knew exactly what she had found. One night, while working late, Emily received an unexpected visitor. The man was tall, dressed in dark clothing, and his face was obscured by a hood. He slipped into the lab like a shadow. "You're meddling with forces you don't understand," he said, his voice deep and calm. "You've drawn attention. Dangerous attention." Emily stood up, her heart racing. "Who are you? What do you want?" "I'm here to warn you," the man said, reaching into his coat pocket. He pulled out a small, metallic device, clicking it open to reveal a series of holographic images. "This is a map of the cosmic gate. You're standing at the edge of the void, and if you continue down this path, the universe will react against you, against everyone you care about." Emily's mind raced. She had heard whispers of something like this, something called the cosmic gate, a place between dimensions. But it was nothing more than myth, wasn't it? "Why should I trust you?" Emily demanded. The man's eyes hardened. "You don't have to, but the Dunari will show you why you shouldn't have woken the humans." Chapter 4. The Awakening. The days that followed were a blur. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was being hunted. Strange men in black suits watched her from every corner, lurking in the shadows. She had never been a believer in conspiracy theories. But now, reality was far stranger than anything she could have imagined. Then it happened. One evening, while Emily was at her desk, the world outside began to change. The sky above rippled like a pond disturbed by a stone. The stars shifted, realigning themselves into unnatural configurations. The earth trembled as the first cosmic wave struck. Humanity was waking up. It wasn't just Emily. Across the globe, others were experiencing the same thing. Visions of the universe's true form, glimpses of ancient alien civilizations, strange creatures and unknown forces. But it wasn't an enlightening experience for everyone. Many people went mad from the sheer overwhelming knowledge. Emily stood at the window, staring into the shifting sky. It was beautiful, terrifying, and somehow inevitable. The first cosmic message arrived in her mind. "You should not have woken them," it whispered. "But you will never be allowed to forget," you said. Chapter 5. The Cosmic Gate. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding. The world outside seemed to warp, the sky flickering between shades of colors that didn't belong to Earth. A low hum echoed through the city, reverberating in the bones of every living being. Something ancient was stirring, something far beyond human comprehension. Emily had always thought of the universe as vast, distant, and impersonal. But now, as the fabric of reality itself seemed to shudder, she realized how wrong she had been. She had broken the one rule. And now, the universe was waking up to confront her. Jon, who had been her closest ally, stood at her side, his eyes wide with the terror of the unknown. "We have to find out what this cosmic gate is," he said, his voice shaky. "We need to understand what we're dealing with before everything collapses." Emily nodded, though doubt gnawed at her insides. The words of Dr. Wilder echoed in her mind. The moment humans awaken, everything will unravel. But what was unraveling? Was it the laws of physics? The very idea of reality itself? "Where do we start?" Emily asked. Jon shook his head. "I don't know, but I think we need to go beyond Earth. The gate, it's not just a metaphor. It's real." They spent the next several hours combing through the old manuscript and the mysterious transmissions that had been sent to Emily. At the heart of everything, the term cosmic gate kept reappearing, always in the same cryptic context. It exists between the known and the unknown, a place where knowledge transcends time and space. This map, this is where it's supposed to be, Emily murmured, studying a faded star chart. The coordinates were clear, but the location was anything but. It wasn't on Earth. It wasn't even in the known galaxy. Jon looked at her, his face pale. We need a ship capable of interdimensional travel, and we're not the only ones looking for it. Emily felt her heart sink. She had heard rumors of secret space programs, shadow organizations that dealt with matters beyond human understanding. But those were just conspiracy theories, right? Surely, no one could possess the technology to navigate between dimensions. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. A new message had arrived. This one wasn't encrypted. The text was simple. The Dunari are already here. Chapter 6. The Hidden Ones. The ship cut through the dark void of space, a sleek vessel that hummed with quiet power. Emily and Jon had been traveling for what felt like days, but the distance they were covering was beyond anything they could comprehend. They were headed to a place no human had ever seen, a place where the laws of the universe twisted and turned like a maze of chaos. The farther they traveled, the more the ship's sensors began to pick up irregularities. Flashes of energy from distant stars, patterns in the cosmic microwave background that shouldn't exist. Emily's mind was reeling. Was it possible that the Dunari had known about this for millennia? Are we close? Jon asked, his voice tight with tension. Emily glanced at the readouts. Very close. But it doesn't make sense. According to this, we should be in an empty sector of space. But they weren't alone. The vessel suddenly lurched, and the stars outside seemed to bend, as if a giant invisible hand had grabbed hold of their ship and yanked it through a portal. The instruments went haywire, the screens flashing in frantic warning. Panic spread through their veins, but Emily's scientific mind refused to give in. Stay calm, she muttered, trying to override the ship's controls. I've got this. The turbulence ceased abruptly. The ship dropped into a pocket of space unlike anything they had ever seen. It was still, an eerie stillness, as though they had entered a place where time had no meaning. Jon's eyes were wide with disbelief. This is a gate. It's real. Before Emily could respond, a figure appeared on the holographic interface. A humanoid being, tall and luminous, its body composed of shifting patterns of light. Welcome, humans, it intoned, its voice smooth but with an edge of something ancient. You have come far, but your journey is just beginning. Chapter 7. The Cosmic Council. The figure on the screen was just the beginning. As Emily and Jon emerged from the ship, they found themselves standing in a vast, cavernous chamber made of shimmering crystalline structures. The air was thick with energy, and the very ground beneath their feet pulsed with an unearthly rhythm. Where are we? Jon whispered, his voice filled with awe. Not where, the figure responded, its form shifting until it was no longer just one being, but a dozen, all speaking in unison. When you are beyond time now. The beings were the Dunari, and they were not alone. There were others in the room. Other ancient, sentient species from across the cosmos, their forms incomprehensible to human eyes. They were the Cosmic Council, the keepers of the knowledge Emily and Jon had stumbled upon. You have broken the rule, one of the Dunari said, its voice soft but filled with an unmistakable weight. Humans were never meant to awaken. It was foretold, but your kind has always been curious. Curiosity is what makes us human, Emily shot back, her voice unwavering. We must know the truth. We need to understand what's out there. Another voice, low and resonant, spoke from the shadows. Understanding comes with a price. The universe is not a simple thing. Your awakening has destabilized the balance of existence. Emily's mind reeled. What do you mean? What balance? You are only beginning to see it, the Dunari answered, its eyes flashing with ancient knowledge. You will now experience what happens when knowledge comes too early. Suddenly, the chamber was filled with visions, flashes of alien worlds, collapsing stars, and universes being born and dying in the blink of an eye. Time no longer flowed in a linear fashion. They were seeing everything all at once, and nothing made sense. "Is this the future?" Jon gasped, barely able to speak. "No," the Dunari replied. "This is a now, and you have brought it to the brink of chaos." Chapter 8. A New Dawn or End of Days. Emily and Jon were thrown back into their ship, the visions fading as quickly as they had appeared. They were left reeling, their minds and bodies exhausted from the experience. The ship's navigation system flickered back to life, and Emily found herself staring at a new set of coordinates. Coordinates that led back to Earth. "We can't go back," Jon said, his voice trembling. "Not after seeing that. The universe is unraveling because of us." Emily's eyes hardened. "We don't have a choice. We've already started this. If we don't fix it, the universe will collapse into chaos. We need to stop the Dunari from doing whatever they're planning. They're not the only ones who have the power to shape reality." Jon's face grew pale. "You don't understand. We don't have the power. We can't change what's happening." Emily clenched her fists. "We're humans. We change everything. We always have." The ship surged forward, propelled by the force of their shared will. The cosmic gate was behind them, but Earth lay ahead, waiting for the final confrontation. Chapter 9. The Collapse. They arrived at Earth in the blink of an eye, but everything had changed. The world was no longer the same. Time fractured. The stars in the sky no longer followed any recognizable patterns. The Earth itself seemed to be shifting. Mountains collapsed, oceans boiled, and the ground split open as if reality itself was tearing apart. "Emily, look!" Jon shouted, pointing to the sky. A massive rift had appeared, a tear in the fabric of space and time. The Dunari had made their move. They had triggered the collapse, hoping to reset the universe to its original state. But their actions had set off a chain reaction, and the consequences were far worse than anyone could have imagined. "We can't stop it." Jon cried out in despair. Emily, shaking with adrenaline, looked at the rift. Then, a thought struck her. If humanity had the power to wake the universe, maybe they had the power to save it. But it would take everything. "Hold on, Jon," Emily whispered, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We're not done yet." Chapter 10. The Price of Knowledge. Emily and Jon made their way to the epicenter of the rift. The Dunari were already there, their forms flickering as the laws of the universe bent around them. They spoke in low, ancient tones, preparing for the final reset. "You have doomed yourselves," the lead Dunari said, its voice cold. "Humanity was never meant to know the truth. And now, you will pay the price." "We don't know the truth," Emily retorted, her voice breaking through the cosmic static. "We only know that we have to try." With that, she and Jon reached out, hands trembling, minds joined in a single thought: stop the collapse. The power surged through them. The rift began to close, but it wasn't without a cost. As the universe reset itself, parts of their own minds fractured, their consciousnesses merging with the cosmic energy. Emily saw flashes of alien worlds, felt the weight of eons pressing on her soul. She understood now what the Dunari had meant. Knowledge was a double-edged sword. They had awakened the universe, and in doing so, had become part of it. As the rift sealed, the stars realigned. Earth was saved, but the price was steep. The human mind would never be the same, and the universe would never forget. Conclusion: the price of awakening. The universe, once vast and unknowable, now felt like a small, fragile thing. The stars that had once seemed so distant, so indifferent, were now personal. Each one carrying a weight of meaning, a consequence of humanity's curiosity. Emily Hall stood at the edge of the rift, her mind overwhelmed by the enormity of what they had done. The cosmic gate had been opened, the ancient prophecy fulfilled, and yet Here she was, alive, but at what cost? Behind her, Jon stumbled toward her, his face pale, eyes still reflecting the chaos that had unfolded. The rift that had nearly torn apart the fabric of reality was closing, slowly but surely. The rift, once an abyss of energy and shifting colors, was now shrinking into a singular point of light, fading from existence as if nothing had ever been. The cosmic forces, those ancient beings that had watched over humanity for millennia, were retreating into the shadows, their work complete. The stars, once chaotic and blinking in unnatural patterns, were realigning themselves into more familiar constellations. The sky above Earth seemed to stabilize, but the damage had already been done. What had been woken in the universe was never going back to sleep. Emily's breath caught in her chest as she felt the weight of the decision they had made. In that instant, she understood what the Dunari had meant. Knowledge, in its purest form, was a force of unimaginable power, one that could reshape not just humanity, but the very structure of the universe itself. They had broken the rule, shattered the barrier that separated the known from the unknown, and the price they paid was irrevocable. What have we done? Emily thought, the echo of the Dunari's warning reverberating in her mind. Jon stood beside her now, his expression a mixture of awe and fear. "Did we fix it?" he asked quietly, as though afraid to voice the question aloud. "I don't know," Emily replied, her voice trembling. Maybe we did, for now, but the universe will never be the same." The two stood in silence, watching as the rift continued to shrink, feeling the weight of everything they had unleashed. The Dunari had warned them that the awakening of humanity would destabilize existence, that their meddling would unravel time, space, and reality itself. And yet, the rift was closing, the chaos subsiding, but the feeling of something unfinished lingered in the air, a presence that couldn't be ignored. Behind them, the remnants of the ancient beings, the Dunari, began to fade from the chamber. Their luminous forms flickered one final time, their ancient voices resonating through the very fabric of space. "You have woken us. You have woken everything," they said in unison. "And yet, you are not the only ones who have seen the truth. The universe has no mercy for those who seek its secrets. You are the first, but you will not be the last." Emily turned to Jon, her heart pounding. "We have to prepare," she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "If we've learned one thing, it's that the universe doesn't forget. We've opened the door, and now others will seek to understand what we've learned." Jon nodded grimly. "And we'll be ready. But we need to find a way to protect what we've uncovered. We need to safeguard the knowledge before it destroys us." They knew the cost of knowledge now. The universe had responded, and while the immediate collapse had been averted, the long-term consequences of humanity's awakening were still unknown. Could humanity coexist with the cosmic forces that had been waiting in the shadows for so long? Would their curiosity lead to further chaos? Or would they find a way to use their newfound understanding to evolve into something greater? The Dunari had been clear. The awakening wasn't just about knowledge. It was about power. And in the wrong hands, that power could bring about the end of everything. As the rift closed completely, leaving no trace of the cosmic disturbance that had rocked the world just moments before, the silence that followed was deafening. The air felt heavy, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Emily looked up at the stars, her mind swirling with the weight of the knowledge she now carried. She had always thought she understood the cosmos, but now she realized how little she had known. The universe was not just a collection of stars and planets. It was a living, breathing entity, and humans were just beginning to understand their place within it. But with that understanding came a responsibility to safeguard the truth and protect the fragile balance that had once existed. It was no longer about the pursuit of knowledge for knowledge's sake. It was about using that knowledge wisely, about understanding that every action had a consequence. The ship's systems flickered to life behind them, signaling that their journey was far from over. The Dunari had vanished, but their warning remained. And Emily knew that the only way to move forward was to embrace the unknown, to step into a future where humanity would have to navigate the vastness of the universe, knowing full well that they were no longer alone. "Are we ready for what's next?" Jon asked, his voice softer now, but with a determination that matched her own. Emily looked out into the infinite expanse of space, where distant stars twinkled like forgotten memories. "We have to be," she replied, "because we're not just fighting for our survival anymore. We're fighting for our future, for the future of everything." And with that, they turned away from the fading remnants of the cosmic gate, stepping back onto the ship that would take them home. But home, as they had known it, was no longer the same. The world they would return had changed forever. The awakening had begun, and humanity's place in the universe was no longer a question of ignorance or innocence. It was a question of survival, evolution, and the infinite possibilities that awaited them, both wondrous and terrifying. The journey ahead was uncertain. The universe had one rule, and humanity had broken it. But they had done so knowing the price, and they would pay it in full, whether they were ready or not. As the ship powered up and shot toward Earth, Emily felt a strange peace settle in her chest. They had awakened the universe, and now they would live with the consequences. The door was open, and there was no going back. But perhaps, just perhaps, that was the way it was always meant to be.